Hey everyone, thanks for joining me on MTV. This week I'm going to talk about how to deal with moisture when you're renovating. And this one comes up often, particularly for those of you that might be renovating an older home, something a little bit different, and you've inherited a problem that could have been there in the past, or the house is just aged and you're finding that there is moisture. And moisture comes in different forms. It can be through efflorescence, or what we call salt damp, which is commonly known. You can get rising damp or moisture under the old carpets or flooring, or you can have the phenomenon which is the peeling paint issue, where we see a lot of moisture in those regards, where you've got paint peeling that might have a wall on the outside and there's a moisture source coming into the wall, or it's just a standard bathroom laundry where there's never been a waterproof membrane underneath those tiles and you get moisture that way. So you need to identify it first, because the worst thing you can do in renovations is go and start to put a new render on or get new paint or new flooring and you haven't dealt with the moisture. So how do you identify whether you've got moisture? Well, there's a few simple ones first. The visual. If you see anything sort of that resembles anything like a damp stain, then check it out, and I'll go through how you can actually test for that in a moment. So you look for it first. The next part, obviously, in rooms is a smell, that musty or that damp type smell where the air is very, very, that you've almost got that humid feel like you're in a basement or a cellar. Check that out first, because that's a good sure sign that you might have a dampness problem. And also, if you actually touch up against surfaces, or just get like a scraper or a trowel to see if things are sound and stable, because if they've aged, particularly with solid masonry homes, if they've aged and you put a trowel or a tool against them and they start to crumble very easily, it could well be that there's moisture signs behind that that's broken that down. Now, if you're not sure that you've got dampness, one way of actually identifying it inside the home is get yourself a sheet of plastic, a thick sheet of plastic, clear, and get some duct tape or gaffer tape and tape that around all four sides. Stick that over the substrate or the surface that you suspect there could be moisture, and then get the air conditioner on and warm the room up. If you haven't got an air conditioner in that room, get a heater in there and generate heat. And through condensation, if there's actually moisture in that wall or that surface, you'll see it will come into the plastic, and you'll get, within sort of a few hours to 24 hours, you'll find you get condensation forming underneath the plastic, and that's a sure sign that you've got moisture. If you want to go about getting a professional out there first up, that's always the best way. But if you've got those suspicions yourself, you can try that one, and that'll tell you if you get condensation or moisture underneath that plastic, you certainly have got a dampness issue in there, and you then need to refer that further. And you may need to engage a professional to deal with the moisture, because it's something that you, as I said, don't think you can just cover over it and hide it, because moisture is like rust on metal. You might sand it back, but it will continue to come through if you haven't dealt with the source of it. So once you know what the problem is, if you've got to get a professional out there, if it's salt damp, you may need to get a pro out there, or if it's rising damp, or if it could be, like I said, a leaking shower or bathroom, then you can at least know what you need to do and how to fix it from there. You can source that. And obviously our Monsta pros and our Monsta crew can even help guide you on what you need to do there. But be sure you tackle that first. Don't just go and do your renovation putting in new boards, new walls. I've seen people put timber cupboards up against walls that they freshly painted, thinking that might hide the dampness, and what happens is the dampness actually gets absorbed into the timber, starts to rot out the timber cupboards, and you've got all sorts of issues. So deal with it very, very well from the start. That's the most important. Now, how do you treat moisture? So as I said, if it's a salt damp moisture issue, you need to get a professional. There are some products on the market for DIYs, but you want to check that out, because a lot of the salt damp specialists will give you a long-term warranty, and the ones that don't give you the warranty, maybe shop around until you get that warranty. Check that piece out first. If it is a situation where you've pulled up tiles or old floors and you're going to put new carpets down and you can see there's dampness in the floor or vinyl, or if it's a bathroom, there are vapor barriers that you can buy and source if you're doing this work yourself. For flooring, you need something that's quite hard, like an epoxy coating, and that epoxy coating will act as a moisture vapor that you can put on the concrete, and then that will lock out that moisture that will rise, and then you know that the finish you put on top, whether it be carpet, tile underlay or vinyl, is protected from that moisture that's rising up. And if it's a bathroom, it's mandatory now that you do waterproof that. You should get a professional. We're experts in that area, but if you want that assistance our crew can guide you on that, on what you do with your bathroom to waterproof it before you tile it. It is very important to ensure that you deal with that first, because the waterproof membrane should last the life of the tiles. And if you haven't got a good membrane, potentially as you get dampness in there, and that's going to compromise your tile finish. So be aware of that. If you're going to stop potential moisture during a renovation or build, no different than on sort of dealing with it. If you are taking precautions that you're renovating and you're building and you don't have a moisture problem, but you know that potentially it could be one. If you see the professionals like the flooring guys, no one will come out and do timber flooring at your home without dealing with potential moisture that's rising. And so understand that that's going to be part of the cost process, and don't get caught out with any surprises. So you can investigate and find that out. And again, as I said, things like bathrooms or wet areas, laundries, you need to waterproof those first. Even if you've never had that problem before, or it's a new extension with a bathroom for the first time, you plan for that, and you can get guidance on how to work out or factor in a cost for that with your tiling system. And that really should go hand in hand. And even things like landscaping. You know, a lot of people underplay landscaping in dampness, and it makes no sense. Landscaped areas always got sprinklers, or they're exposed to the weather. And landscaped areas are often up against a concrete wall or a masonry wall, and that water gets sucked into that surface. So you need to seal that surface first with a membrane or a coating that's going to stop the absorption of the moisture through the soil or the earth, and make sure you've got good drainage. And again, if you need more guidance on that, we'll get our Monsta pros that can help you. We get a free 10-minute consult with our Monsta crew to give you a hand all the way. I'm looking forward to seeing some of your stories and photos. You've seen plenty here on this one. If you've got to subscribe, we would love to see you subscribe to the show. Pass it on to someone you might know that's renovating or dealing with the build, and make sure they're dry. We'll see you next time.